by now, it's the playoffs. It's the first week. It's the second week. It's the final week of your fantasy basketball playoffs. Let's break down week 22, or also called week 20. It really depends. The numbers are confusing. It's for the week that starts on March the 17th. Michael Bolton, I hope that is okay.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and when Cheers began on TV, Norm and Cliff were over 10 years younger than I am now. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Also check out lockedondaily.com and sign up for a free newsletter for your favorite NBA team, whatever's happening. Lottery, free agency previews coming up, playoffs, all that sort of stuff. You can find it for your favorite team over there. You're double banging, of course, on this video too. You're thumbing and videoing and audioing and commenting and all of that stuff. Like I said, we are here for week 22. It's the 22nd week of the NBA season. That's why we call it week 22. It is National Panda Day. Today, it's also Yahoo Week Matchup 20. It is also the final week of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, the Battle Royale, which I am absolutely dreading setting up. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. And that is the end for a lot of leagues. This is the final week that I recommended for fantasy seasons. And I will say this, I know that there are a lot of players who are injured at the moment. There are a lot of people having significant consternation about a couple of really terrible teams. And I think in fantasy, we do get caught up in this. Man, I can't believe what Utah's doing. That's a terrible look for the league. Nobody cares. I'll put it this way. Nobody in the NBA at this point of the season with the Jazz who are bad all season, that is not where the focus is or should be. And I know it's frustrating for us for fantasy. Same with Toronto. But these are terrible teams. We have 4 weeks to go in the regular season. They are not playing any further part in this season of any of it making sense. We have good teams everywhere playing good basketball. And I know it's frustrating for us. The other thing that I would hear as well is people go, oh, you got to move up your playoffs to start of February. I disagree with that completely. I understand there have been some injuries that have happened, and that stuff, half of these injuries that have happened now could happen at any point. It's literally got nothing to do with the time of the year we're at. Yeah, we heard today that Cam Thomas is out for the season with another hamstring strain. Could that be iffy? Yeah, absolutely it could. Am I going to blame the Nets for bringing him back too quickly? No, because they didn't. But that's a little iffy. Am I going to blame the Kings for bringing Domantas Sabonis back early? You bet your ass I am. I don't know how obvious this is to predict that this will happen when teams bring players back, which again, hamstring injuries should just be a minimum 21 days. It's the simplest equation of all time. Yet, I would say 50% of the time a team brings someone back early from soreness / hamstring strain, they get re-injured. It happens so often. It's ridiculous. I will blame for that. But like Sabonis getting injured has got nothing to do with holding your playoffs at this point of the year. Nothing. Like Paul George being injured now, yeah, sure, but that's like, is that real? Yeah, a little bit, but it's also not a significant, or it's not something you could have predicted at the start of the season. Injuries to the Mavericks players. Has that got anything to do with the time of the season? No. They just all happen right now, and that's bad luck. The injuries the injury news we receive at this time of the year for a lot of players is not specific to this time of the year. The thing that amplifies it a lot of the time is because we hear, out for the season, but it's because there's 4 weeks left. But if that happened in December, he wouldn't be out for the season. He'd be out for 4 weeks, and wouldn't hit as hard. That sort of an idea. Like LeBron being out now, got nothing to do with the fact that it's fantasy playoffs or it's March, and you move it up to February, doesn't change a single thing. Doesn't impact you at all. Jalen Williams being out now, no impact. It could happen anytime. Amen Thompson being out, oh well, got literally nothing to do with when you hold your playoffs. Nothing. It's completely separate to that. And the idea of like, we'll move our playoffs up and we avoid that, you absolutely do not. That does not change any of that stuff. Like, at all. It has no impact at all on that thing. I will also say this, though. If you, and I understand the idea to do it, right? I understand this thought process, but the idea of, fantasy, the best team just doesn't win. It's just whoever's got guys healthy. Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's what happens in head-to-head leagues. That's what happens in real-life sport with playoffs as well. That's the risk you take. If you just want the best team in the regular season to be rewarded, don't have playoffs. If you just want it to be auto, top seed beats lower seed, onto the next one, top seed beats lower seed, onto the next one, then don't have playoffs. It is actually just completely useless for you to have playoffs. It doesn't mean anything. If that is what your complaint is, that the best team all year will not win, that is what the playoffs are. Just don't have them. Play roto or play head-to-head where the team on top wins. That is your solution. Again, real life doesn't work like this. Remember when the Bucks won the title and everyone complained because KD was hurt and not KD was hurt, Kyrie got hurt and Harden got hurt and then someone got hurt on the Suns and someone got hurt here and someone got hurt here. It happens, right? This is what happens in real life in playoffs. That's why they play the games. It's not about I was good, you weren't as good, I win auto. Nah, not how it works. And I understand there are frustrations. There are things that we can't control, but also injuries in real life can't be controlled either. So if your thought is and you get frustrated by the idea, if I was the best all season and I lost my best two players now, Jalen Williams and LeBron, let's say, again, literally nothing to do with this time of the year, don't play playoffs. Just don't have playoffs in your league. If that is how you view it, that the best team should be rewarded, don't have playoffs. Or have a split pool and have a regular season winner and a playoff winner, however you want to do it. But the whole premise of playoffs in literally any sport, the NBA, the NFL, NHL, baseball, whatever. Yeah, good teams will get through a lot, right? But that's not what it is. You don't just lock in the best regular season team to win the title. You just got to win the games, and if someone gets hurt, bad luck, huh? That's bad luck. That's how that plays. And you'll get that complaint every year. And some of you watching will have that complaint. And I know some of you will push back on it. Well, it's not fair, or whatever. If you want the best team in the regular season to be the team that wins the fantasy playoffs, don't have fantasy playoffs. Just award that team. And that is 100% a viable way to do it if that is what you want to do. No one is telling you that's the wrong thing to do. You can absolutely do that if your belief is the team that has been best all season deserves a title, play it like the Premier League. Again, totally fine to do it. But if you're going to have playoffs don't just work as you auto advance. Cool? I know that you'll push back on it, and I know that's annoying at this time with teams tanking. Some of the stuff, the Utah stuff, predictable from September onwards. Like, that was obvious. Philadelphia, no shot at predicting that. Toronto, well, they literally told us that. That was actually predictable too. And they're probably, I would say, being the very clear main culprits of this. Just those three teams. Who else? Just them. San Antonio is going to be annoying, clearly. With the Fox shutdown now as well, which is a legitimate injury, but it does make sense for a team going nowhere, who's lost their best player, to now have a guy needing surgery. No point waiting until May to do it. Then you lose 2 months of recovery a month of recovery before next season. Yep. I wanted to talk about that because, again, I know it's a pressing issue for people. And I understand. I am working on something that I'm going to trial as a format next season that does a little bit, not necessarily, because the fix to the playoff stuff is easy. You don't have playoffs. That's an easy decision. That's done. Or play roto. Like that there's no debate about that. That system's easier. I'm working on something that works a little bit in terms of volume and averages. And it will be a shock to the system when I put it together and show it. But I think that there is some merit to it. But that's an off-season topic. Let's talk about what we need to talk about for this week. How does the Week 22 schedule look? Last week, it was Clippers week. This week, we are going to be talking a lot this week about a few teams. I don't know which team to name it. I think it could be Hornets week. It could be Warriors week. I'd say it's Hornets and Warriors week this week. It's also Hornets, Warriors, and Hawks week. And you could also throw in that it's Magic and Mavs week. So they are probably our focus teams for this week. Because I'll explain to you in a sec why. On Monday, we've got 10 games. And I believe that for the majority of you, especially when guys get injured, a 10-game day is a completely streamable day. I believe that it is a streamable day. But that will honestly just always depend on It depends on how your roster looks and how all that sort of stuff sits. So we've got the 10 games Monday, which I am going to classify as a streaming day. We've got 4 games on Tuesday, an obvious streaming day. 11 games Wednesday, I think that's a bridge too far. Now, for some of you, you will be able to stream. And this is where I provide as much information and data as I can, and we do it on Basketball Monster as well. But you've got to be able to make some adjustments on your own for your own individual circumstances. Because if you just follow blindly what I say, do not do that. Because I cannot cover every nuance in every situation. Because the nuance will be, hey, maybe your roster's aligned where Monday is not a streamer, but Wednesday is. And maybe Wednesday and Friday are both not streamers for you. I don't know that because I don't know your roster. I don't know your league moves. I don't know your bench size. I don't know your starters. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know who's available on your waiver. I don't know who's on your team. So I provide as much overview in terms of information that I can, but you've got to be able to do that individual part of it as well. So Wednesday, for the general rule of this week, we're counting that as a non-stream day. Thursday's got 5. Friday's got 10. Again, I will count that as a streamer. Saturday's got 5, and Sunday's got 8. It is very easy to stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday without any question at all. Easy to stream those 4 days. Monday and Friday, I think you'll be okay with that. Wednesday's where I go, yeah, maybe. Debatable. Because I talked a lot at the start of the show, as I sometimes do, we'll come back and we'll talk about what teams play what during the week and some stream zone stuff. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by the swooshing legends themselves, DoorDash. So when they swoosh, you save. Not DoorDash, but NBA players. Because with Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It is simple as writing they swoosh and you save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. If someone drops 50 this week, I want you to all tweet at me or comment it on videos. Just comment, they swooshed. There you go. DoorDash for you. They swooshed. Burgers, pizzas, burritos, fish and chips. You don't have that in America, do you? Anyway, that's okay. What else can you do? What else can you order? Sushi, ramen. Who enjoys ordering soup from a delivery service? I actually don't mind it. I do it quite a bit. I know sometimes, and I like the way I don't know, do they do it for you here? Where they pack the individual things in separate things and you assemble it at home? Massive W. You can do all that stuff as well. Most importantly, you're getting 50% off. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. March Madness is here as FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That extra $200, you can use it on underdogs. You can use it on buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, who can cut down the nets, live in-game bets as well. You can pick the favorites. You can go the underdogs. You can go which team you like the mascot of. Any of that stuff. It's easy. And do it all over at FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right. Now we can talk about the way the actual games play out for the week. Because we have been talking about this week all season. Since the middle of August when the NBA schedule came out. And I saw it and I went, for absolute... The championship week that I put out there, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks played 2 games for the second year in a row, and that will mean I do not want to pick him at pick number 3. Now, of course, Luka Doncic doesn't play for Dallas, a scenario which I never entered my head for a single second at the beginning of the season. Never once would I have entertained that. And you know what? I will make that mistake 1,000 times out of 1,000. The point remained that if you had Luka, you didn't want to have Kyrie in round 2. Things change, right? But this 2-game week is here. Orlando also has a 2-game week, which I believe was that on the cards early on in the season? Or no, I actually don't remember whether Orlando was slated for this or was one of the weeks that was moved around. Irrespective of that, Orlando didn't have a top 3 round pick to worry about, but now we do. So 2 teams have 2 games this week. Dallas and Orlando. And they are horrendous days. They play on an 11-game Wednesday and a 10-game Friday. Again, the 10-game Friday may be streamable, maybe not. But it is a horrendous, for some of you that is going to mean that your Dallas guys, anyone who's sort of fringy just won't play, and same with Orlando. We have 18 teams playing 4 games, and here that is where the real problem lies, is because when you have got almost 2/3 of the league playing 4 games, the 2-game hits harder. It's double the volume of games. If 18 teams were playing 3 games, it would still be an issue. But when there are so many players and so many teams playing 4, the 2-game is really tough to swallow. So the teams playing 4 games, we go to Charlotte. It's Charlotte week. Chicago, Cleveland, Denver, Detroit, Golden State, Houston, Indiana, the Lakers, Miami, New Orleans, New York, Philadelphia, Portland, Sacramento, San Antonio, Utah, and Washington. We've got 10 teams playing 3 games, and you'll notice at the start that I said that it is Golden State, Charlotte, Atlanta week. And you go, why is it Atlanta week when they play 3 games? Well, I am glad that you asked, if you even did ask. I'm not sure whether you did. But the reason that it's Atlanta week is they are the literal only team that play a weekend back-to-back. They play 3 games, so their start of their week is horrendous. But they're the only team with a weekend back-to-back, a very weird schedule. So it's Atlanta, Boston, Brooklyn, the Clippers, Memphis, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Phoenix, and Toronto with 3 this week. And then 2, as I said, on to Dallas and Orlando. Let's take a look at some stream zone stuff or some quality game stuff first. And let's see. Well, I've already I've spoiled it. I've given away the quality game situation already. We're viewing every day apart from Wednesday as a quality game day. Right? There are 2 teams this week. Charlotte. It's Charlotte week. I feel like we've had a lot of Charlotte weeks. It's Charlotte week and Golden State. They both have 4 games this week. We have 4 teams who played 2 quality games. Memphis, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and Phoenix. And they're teams you're going to want to remember when planning out your streams. And then, of course, the Mavs and the Magic play 1 quality game on a 10-game Friday, which is bloody iffy as it is. Absolutely dreadful schedule for those guys. Absolutely dreadful. 1 quality game, Friday. Not good. Not good. But again, we knew about this, especially for the Dallas. Again, I cannot remember for the life of me about Orlando whether it was here. Someone I'm sure will remind me in the chat below. What we can look at now, let's get into a bit of schedule quirk stuff before we really dig into the stream zone. There are 3 teams who do not play until Wednesday, which is the 11-game day. Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Orlando. And those teams, their first, and some cases only streaming day that they have, is on Friday. That is rough. That is incredibly rough for so many of those Thunder guys. All your Dallas spuds that you've been streaming in with everyone hurt. And even a lot of Magic back-end players. When you might not use these players until Friday, and even then, that is iffy, their value is done. There are 5 teams who do not play on the weekend. That's a lot. Dallas, Memphis, Minnesota, Orlando, and Phoenix. And those team names are going to be mentioned a ton this week as well. They are probably your 5 key teams when talking about who can I drop to maximize games for streaming. So check your roster. Do you have someone from Dallas, Memphis, as I write here, Minneosta, which is not how you spell it, it's Minnesota, Orlando, and Phoenix. They are the 5 teams. So do a quick little reconnaissance trip onto your jersey, onto your roster. It's 1/6 of the league. Do you have any players from those teams who aren't the absolute studs of studs? And by that I mean Morant, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Gobert, debatable, Wagner, Banchero, Beal, Booker, Durant. Those guys, we're not going to count. Anybody else is going to be expendable. Atlanta, dreadful schedule until the end. They've got 3 days off in the middle of the week, Wednesday to Friday. That is tough. That is tough. And while the value of them having the weekend back-to-back is huge, it is not worth holding for 3 zeros in the middle of the week. Obviously, Wednesday is a non-streaming day anyway, but it's not worth it. And there is 2 instances this week of teams having 1 game in 5 nights. Between Monday to Friday, Atlanta. Between Tuesday to Saturday, the Raptors. So we're getting a lot of value from Raptors spuds. AJ Lawson, Colin Castleton, Orlando Robinson, Jared Roden when he returns. It could be Abaji, it could be Mobo. But they're going to have one game in 5 nights, and that is not going to be worth it. Remember that. No matter how much you love the little diamond in the rough, the league winner, they don't win if they don't play. And that's where you're going to sit with that. Okay, so we've looked at a bit of quirky stuff. Let's talk Stream Zone action now. And this is a very weird week for this particular reason. Monday to Tuesday, again, we're ignoring Wednesday because it is the 11-game day. Monday to Tuesday, there is one team with a back-to-back. Golden State. Thursday to Friday, there is one team with a back-to-back. Charlotte. Friday to Saturday, guess how many back-to-backs there are? 1. Washington. Saturday, Sunday, guess how many back-to-backs there are? 1. Atlanta. What a stupid week. What the hell is this week? Where are all the back-to-backs? There are none of them. There's no back-to-backs all through this week. There's none. There's back-to-backs on the Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, but Wednesday's got 11 games on, so it doesn't really matter. There's just no back-to-backs. There are many teams this week without a single back-to-back. The real key that we have to focus is a back-to-back that's not a real back-to-back. It's the Tuesday, Thursday enveloping the Wednesday. Because there are 4 teams who play Tuesday and Thursday. But otherwise, you get nothing. Monday, Tuesday, one team. Tuesday, Thursday, one team. Thursday, Friday, one team. Friday, Saturday, one team. Saturday, Sunday, one team. The only period with multiple back-to-backs, and even like Thursday into Wednesday, which is the 11-game day, there's only one team with that back-to-back, and that's Cleveland. The only one where you've got multiples is Wednesday to Thursday. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that. But again, what are we doing with it when there are 11 games on Wednesday? Nothing. So using our streams this week is weird. It's tough. We'll start. I'm going to do 4 moves and 7 moves. The 2 defaults, Yahoo and ESPN. On Yahoo with a default 4 moves. If you have a Mavericks player or a Magic player, except Franz, except Paolo, PJ Washington is probably, you might count him for Dallas. You can drop nearly all of those guys. Again, I probably would hold PJ because you would start him on Wednesday, and you do the same with Franz and Paolo. You'd start them Wednesday, Friday, and get you get those 2 games out of them, which is good. But anybody else, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Spencer Dinwiddie, Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards, Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Wendell Carter Jr., they're probably the main ones. There, you drop them. Right? There's no point having them. Because you can turn that roster slot into 6 games. Because with 11 games on, would you even start most of those guys? Probably not. Like, you could argue maybe you would start Brandon Williams. I get that. You could argue you maybe start Najee Marshall. But with the drop-off between starting Najee and Brandon versus the other guys sliding from your bench, how marginal is that? It'd be pretty marginal, I think. So with a 1 stream slot, you can turn 1 into 6. And this is how I think is going to be the best way to do it. You hit Monday with just a single game stream. Whoever you want from Monday. You go Tuesday, Thursday, you attack somebody from Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, or Milwaukee. Now, I did put an asterisk on Golden State there because if you wanted to, they go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. The only team that does that. And there's a back-to-back in there, obviously Monday, Tuesday. And you're going to have these fringy sort of players. But like, will Kuminga play the back-to-back? If Podziemski returns, does he play the back-to-back? But you're going to have Moody. You're going to have Post. You're going to have Heald, Looney, Payton, with some value there. But Tuesday, Thursday, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, Milwaukee. Because that is realistically the only little period of time here where we've got multiple teams to choose from. Friday, we've got a single day stream. And then you can do a Saturday, Sunday Atlanta stream where Karis LeVert, George Niang, Mohamed Wayuge, Clint Capella if he's even playing. You've got options you can use. Now, you could do it the other way around and do a Friday, Saturday back-to-back and stream a Wizards player, Corey Kispert, Bob Carrington, Keyshawn George if you want to consider him a streamer, Justin Champagny, Rashawn Holmes. You can use them and then do a Sunday singles day stream. That's a totally fine way to do it, and there's no right or wrong answer there. the key here is going to be hitting that Tuesday, Thursday, because like I said, there's one back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, Golden State. Thursday, Friday, Charlotte. Friday, Saturday, Washington. Saturday, Sunday, Atlanta. The only way where you get a choice to get better stream options on a back-to-back is Tuesday, Thursday. That is the only choice that you have to get that extra value in. We're going to come back and talk more 4 moves and more 7-move streaming ideas. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Monarch Money. You check your bank account, and sometimes you'll sit there and you go, bloody hell, what's this? Where's my money? Where'd it go? Hey, come on. This is something got to be wrong. I need to call the police on this. But no, it's just you eating out, online shopping, entertainment. It can be easy to lose track of that stuff. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you complete control and visibility over all of your finances. But it's not just budgeting. It's about keeping everything together in a financial command center. You manage your money. Great. We love that. That's basic stuff, though. We manage our money and we help to build wealth because you can put all your apps into one spot, track your spending and your investments, set your goals, and figure out where the money goes, where it should go, and how you can work to build that wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA, for half off your first year. Okay. All right, so that's the beginning of a 4-move streaming situation. We can, though, this week, use 2 slots and get somewhat of an advantage. Now, turning 1 game into 6 is a +5 with 1 move. That's a W, yeah? That is predicated on you having a Maverick or Magic player to get that bonus. There are ways you can find 2 quality game teams: Thunder, Memphis, Minnesota, Phoenix. You can look at those teams and drop one of them and turn 2 into 6, which is still a 3-time value, and it's a W. Right? That is a W. On a 2-slot stream, you can turn 2 or 3 games into 10. So we were talking about maxing at +5 with 1 slot. This week, we can potentially go +8 with 2 slots. Of course, to get +8, you need to have 2 Maverick or Magic players that aren't PJ, Franz, and Paolo. And if you do, you can turn 2 into 10. If you don't have one of those, 2 of those Mavericks or Magic players, and you instead have a Grizzlies player in there, a Phoenix player in there, or a Minnesota player in there, you can turn 3 games into 10 or 4 into 10, depending on how you look with that. And 4 into 10 is +6. That's better than +5, which is what we got from the single game stream. 3 into 10 is +7. That's better than the +5 we got before. So the 2-game stream works pretty well this week. The problem with the 2-game stream is that your choice of players to stream is limited. Remember this, though. You are in the playoffs. Not every team is active. So you aren't fighting 10 teams, 11 teams. You aren't fighting 11 other teams. You might be fighting 1 other team. You might be fighting 3 other teams. You might be fighting 4 other teams, whatever it is. So the activity on the wire decreases, so the options should be better. But your choice of players is limited to max out games. So you just need to see, is this a viable strategy for me? So it's all well and good to say, well, I'm going to open up 2 streaming slots, but I don't have any Dallas, Orlando, Memphis, Minnesota, or Phoenix players. Well, then what are you doing? Because that would mean that you're probably losing 3 games per slot, and having 3 games per slot is 6 games total for the week. And then the most you can max that into is 10. That's just a +4. And the choices for you to get those players to get the +4 are so bad anyway that the advantage becomes very iffy. It becomes very iffy. And what we want is a situation where the probability of us beating value, the probability of us doing more is so high that it just, even if there's a mistake, even if there's weirdness, we can't go wrong. We don't want it to be a 50-50 proposition where we're turning 6 into 10, but the 10 involves streaming Gary Payton. Because that's not a good feeling to have. Because then you'd be like, I should have just kept my guy who played 3 games in those slots. Yeah, probably. We need big advantages. We need to turn 2 into 10, 3 into 10, 1 into 5, or 1 into 6. That's what you need to do to make it make sense. So, if we want to do a situation here where we're going to use 2 slots, 4 moves, we do a Monday, Tuesday, Golden State, a Thursday, Friday, Charlotte, a Saturday, Sunday, Atlanta for one of the slots. So that's 3 moves, 6 games. The other slot, we just use a single stream to get a Charlotte or Golden State player in. Again, this is what I mean. The pickings are slim. Now, Charlotte, who do you look at? Daquan Jeffries? Probably. Do you look at Nurkic? That's rough. Do you look at like Nick Smith, who was very good last game? I wouldn't feel good about it. Josh Green? Maybe. Is it KJ Simpson time? I'm not sure. Or do you get 2 Golden State guys? And that might be the move. Moody, Looney, Peyton, Hield, Pajemski, if he's back, but I don't even know that he will be back. That's probably the move. Post into Jeffries, into Niang at the top is not bad, especially if you're dropping a Brandon Williams. If you're dropping 2 games of Brandon Williams, and that'll be almost the end of his eligibility, to get 10 games in for the week, I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah, dropping Brandon Williams and Cole Anthony makes a lot of sense to be able to do it that way, I think. The other way to do a 2-slot stream for the week, we can actually get to 12 games from 2 slots under, again, a very specific circumstance. It needs you to have a fringe Grizzly player, Vince Williams, Santi Aldama, Scottie Pippen, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, Zach Edey. Anyone that's not Jar, Dez, or JJJ. It needs you to have a fringe Grizzly Wolves player. And yes, Dante DiVincenzo and Naz Reid are probably considered fringe guys. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley, Gobert, debatable. They are a fringe guy if it's a question for you whether you would start them on Wednesday or not. If you look at them and they are your 9th best guy on Wednesday and the guy on the bench is not that far behind, they are fringe and they are droppable. Or fringe Phoenix, BDNR. You've added Mason Plumlee. Maybe you've bought into Ryan Dunn. Maybe it's Tyus Jones, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, for some reason Bol. Any of those guys, right? Because they will play on Monday, and then after Monday, those 3 teams play 1 quality game the rest of the week. That's all. So that becomes an easy drop. The way that you need to do that, though, this is why it's Charlotte and Atlanta week. You need to go to Charlotte on the Thursday through Friday, get 3 games in 4 nights. So Tuesday through Friday, 3 games in 4 nights. It is amazingly going to be Daquan Jeffries week. And then you turn it into Atlanta with George Niang. Or Karis LeVert. Or Muhammad Gay. Or Terrence Mann. It is a tough one. And on the surface, you go, Jesus, if I dropped Santi Aldama and say he returned, and Naz Reid, and I'm replacing them with Daquan Jeffries and George Niang, that seems insanely stupid. And I get it. It does. But if you would play that Memphis, Minnesota, Phoenix person on Monday, so you get 1 game out of them, then you move on, and then you would probably use those guys 1 time during the week. And then you turn that slot into more. That's, again, what we're going to track this week. It's tough to wrap your head around. I get that. If you're on ESPN and using 7 default moves, obviously we have more flexibility, but the flexibility is limited by the way the schedule is set up. So, if we do 7 moves with 2 slots, we can turn 2 games or 3 games into 12. Massive W. Plus 10 is huge if you've got a Dallas or a Orlando guy. Or it could be 3 because you've got a Dallas or an Orlando guy or any of those other 2 quality game teams. You do it this way. You do Golden State, Monday, Thursday. That's 3 games in 4 nights. You do Washington, Friday, Saturday. And then you do a single day stream on Sunday. Yep. And then also that's how the week plays out. The way we can look at that for this week. The way that we can do it to max out our games is we can do a single Monday stream. We can do a Tuesday, Thursday, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, Milwaukee, pseudo back-to-back. We can do a Friday single day stream. And we could do a Saturday, Sunday, Atlanta. Sorry, I just confused myself. So the 2 slots. The top slot is Monday, Thursday, Golden State. Friday, Saturday, Washington. Sunday, single day. The second slot is a Monday stream. Then it's a Tuesday, Thursday, back-to-back, which is Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, Milwaukee. it's a Friday single day stream, and it's a Saturday, Sunday, weekend Atlanta stream. That gives you 12 games total, and that depends what you're dropping, whether it's 2 games or 3 games or 4 games. So you give you a plus 10 or a plus 8, which is a pretty good way to go about it, I think. The other way you can do this as well to give you a little bit more selection room is if you've got one of those players from Memphis, from Minnesota, from Phoenix, and you hold them on Monday. This would mean you're turning, in 2 slots, you're turning 4 games into 12. Plus 8. It's pretty good. Still pretty good. Tuesday, Thursday, you attack that back-to-back in both slots. You do Friday, Saturday into Sunday on one of the slots, which is Washington into a single-day Sunday. Or you can do, and then in one of the slots, you can do a single-day stream from just Friday, Saturday, Sunday individually. So what you want to do in both slots is go Tuesday, Thursday. And then in one of the slots, you do a Friday, Saturday back-to-back into Sunday. In the other slot, you just hit single days. And that gives you 12 games with 7 moves using 2 slots, having someone from Memphis, Minnesota, Phoenix. All right. I know it can be a little bit confusing to figure this stuff out. It's confusing for me at times. There is a way you can look at it with 3 slots with 7 moves too. Again, it does require to know what you've actually got. If for some reason you have 2 Mavericks and a Magic, or 2 Magic and a Mavs, whatever, you can turn 3 into 16. That's a lot, but it does require very specific circumstances. Now, maybe you have 1 Maverick and then 2 guys who are 2 quality game players. That would mean 5 into 16. Still a lot, still extra 11 games. So for slots 1 and 2, you do this. You do a Monday single day stream. You do a Tuesday to Friday Charlotte 3-game in 4 night. Again, that's a tough one. Daquan Jeffries is going to be your guy, I think. And then Saturday, Sunday, Atlanta. And then in your 3rd slot, you just want a Warrior or a Hornets player. Probably like a Warrior, probably like a Moses Moody. So this week is going to come a lot down to Moses Moody and Daquan Jeffries. And that'll help you max out games. This is where this stuff gets weird. The other thing you could do is if you don't have those Mavericks Magic players to drop with a 3-slot scenario for 7, if you've got a Memphis player, a Minnesota player, or a Phoenix player, you can turn 6 games into 18 games. 6 games into 18 games. One of the slots, you do Brooklyn, Charlotte, Golden State, Milwaukee on the Tuesday, Thursday after you've dropped someone after Monday. And then you do the Washington Friday, Saturday into a Sunday single gamer. And then in 2 of your slots, you do a Monday single game into a Charlotte player, into an Atlanta player. Again, it is Charlotte week. It is Golden State week. It is Moses Moody and Daquan Jeffries week. And I understand how stupid that sounds. I understand how stupid. And maybe think something happens with Jeffries and he doesn't play these minutes that we want. That's possible. It could be Nick Smith week. It could be Josh Green week. It could be Gary Payton week. It could be Moses Moody week. It could be Quinton Post week. But these are the guys that we need to target. You could do it this week instead of doing Monday into Charlotte. You could do Golden State, who go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Then you would have a Friday single day stream into Atlanta on the weekend. That is another way to do it. Because we have so few situations this week where there are streamable options, you can mix and match. You know there is 1 back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. There is 1 3-game in 4 night to begin the week with Golden State. There is 1 Thursday, Friday back-to-back in Charlotte. There is 1 3-game in 4 night Tuesday through to Friday. There is 1 3-game in 4 night Thursday through to Sunday. There is 1 back-to-back Friday to Saturday, Washington. And there is 1 back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, which is Atlanta. It is a crazy week where your margin for error is small. Therefore, the gains that you get from the moves need to be big and almost unbeatable from weirdness. Like if Josh Green has his standard Josh Greens and he's the guy that you got the 3 games in for, you need to be getting plus 8 games, plus 10 games for the week to make up for that. Because he's bad. But if that enables you, that get you 3 games in. What does 3 games of Josh Green give us? Let's say 17 points, 2 threes, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 3 steals, 2 blocks. It's not bad. It's not bad. And then you hope for 1 spike game. It does come down to Charlotte, Golden State, they are, and your ability to have someone already on your team from Memphis, Minnesota, Phoenix, Dallas, and Orlando. That is where so much of this is coming from. All right, and I know that is, again, that's not going to be for everybody. And if you are in a situation where you don't have the ability to really put that big gap in it, then two-slot streaming is not for you. Go one. Use the guys you've got. Understand working the advantage through better players versus bulk volume. Who are some guys that I'm going to track as being droppable for this week? I'm going to track the value of dropping anyone from Dallas and anyone on Orlando. And I know that Paolo and Franz exist, and PJ Washington exists, and you would probably play them on Wednesday. But I'm still going to track what would happen if I just dropped them. What would happen if we just looked at what they did for the week? Any player on these teams who are rostered, what would happen if we dropped them? And the names that we're going to talk about with them, it's like PJ, Clay, Najee, Spencer, Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards, Max Christie, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter. Track all of those guys. I'm going to track the Memphis players. Jar, Desmond, and Jaren, you hold on to those guys. The two that are, I think, important to consider here are Zach Edey and Santi Aldama. Not so much Vince Williams. He's not really rostered. Luke Kennard, Scottie Pippen. Although Pippen's a really good option at the moment for the end of this week. But then next week, he'd be a droppable guy. We want to track the Timberwolves, including two of the bigger names here, Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo. Are they worth holding when there is one quality game from Monday onwards? Mike Conley, similar boat. He's definitely not worth holding. Then we track the Suns, Nick Richards, Bol Bol, Tyus Jones, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen. You could make an argument that you might not even want to hold Bradley Beal. Okay. That's fine. And then the Thunder, Aaron Wiggins. All of these. Who's the ad with Jalen Williams out? Remember that question, which has been a big question? I don't know when Jalen's coming back. But they have got a dreadful schedule this week. They don't play until Wednesday, which is an 11-game day, and then they play on Friday. And then they play Friday, Sunday to end the week. It is a horrid schedule. So the answer is, who's the ad? It's nobody. You don't prioritize Wiggins or Wallace or Dort or Joe. And honestly, I am going to track Hartenstein this week because given how bad this schedule is, the fact that he does not play a game until Wednesday, and the marginal difference between Hartenstein and who your bench guy is, it might be small. And then you got a Friday, Sunday from them. Again, their situation is not as bad as, say, Memphis, Minnesota, and Phoenix, where it's one quality game from Monday onwards. But I'm still going to track what would happen if we drop these and how it compares to the limited streaming options we have. Let's talk weekly leagues now. Who are some guys, and I'm using Basketball Monsters under 65% advanced metric because using the Yahoo numbers at this point of the year, it does get difficult because teams are inactive, they're not playing, they're eliminated. So there'll be plenty of players who just shouldn't be on rosters who are sitting on teams who are eliminated. Or there is just too many guys on the waiver wire who should be grabbed, but the teams that are good are still playing, so they don't need to grab them. So it does become harder. So we're using Basketball Monster to get more of an idea of some guys who probably just shouldn't be sitting on the wire. And all of these guys, I think if you grab them for this week, you would probably start them in a lot of cases. Justin Champagny just feels like an absolute must-roster player. 4 games this week. He's going to play, I'm guessing, 30 minutes a night. He should do a lot. Adem Bona. Although I will say that Adem Bona got ruled out today for an ankle sprain. So, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not with him. That just happened. He sprained his ankle yesterday and played through it. And then I just don't know. No, that is risky. You don't want that. You don't want that. Keon Ellis. It's been bad for Keon, but 4 games is 4 games. Jose Alvarado. CJ probably going to sit some games, I'm guessing. Ty Jerome. I'm big against having Ty Jerome as a must-roster player. Very, very clear on that. But this is where it's useful. Bub Carrington. Good. Don't think he's a must-roster player. Must-roster status, though, is something that changes time, like week by week, game by game. There was someone that I know that had a question or queried some of the way that I phrased stuff. That's okay. We all have queries, and you can ask them. I'll always try and explain what I mean. But like after Champagne's big game the other day when Bilal was out, I was like, hey, that's interesting because if he plays 30 minutes a night, he's definitely an ad, right? But if Bilal plays, he's going to get 7 minutes. So I said, okay, I don't think that's a must because I don't know. Like the Bilal thing was very weird. How long's he out for? And then the very next day, it's like Bilal out for the season. So okay, so now Justin Champagny goes from we'll see into an absolute must guarantee because you could have burnt an ad on him, gotten one start, Bilal returned, and he was useless playing 7 minutes for the next 2 weeks. And yeah, it might have worked out later in the year, but that doesn't matter when we're talking fantasy playoffs because if that happens in 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. You're done. You're out. But now, Justin Champagny is a clear must-roster player. He is going to play, I'm going to guess, 28 minutes minimum every game. That is a must because we know the path is very clear and him being pulled back is just so unlikely now that we are there to go. Whereas previously, he might have played one game, moved back to the bench and played 7 minutes. And then in a week time, played 30. But you don't know that. And making speculative, maybe this happens in the future moves is just not a good way to go about it. I don't believe. Let's look at who would you start as a 2-game player? I've got 2 names. And even then, I'm not confident with them. Remember, 18 teams play 4 games. Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero, that is it. I wouldn't start PJ. Wouldn't start any Mavericks players. Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards, Clay, Najee, wouldn't start any of them. I would start Franz and I would start Paulo and I wouldn't feel good about it. But that's who I would start. And that was an incredibly long National Panda Day edition of the Week 22 preview. Why was it so long? I can't shut up, but also I just think there's a lot to take in on a week that is interesting, limited, incredibly limited, and we've got to be very specific as to what we do this week. You can be very specific in hitting the thumb on the video and leaving the comments down below. I would love that from you, so do that. Pay attention to the news, pay attention to your team, pay attention to yourself, and pay attention to your friends and family. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.